Hi, this is Gwen Fisher with Environmental and Occupational Health 6639, Occupational Health Psychology, Improving Health and Well-Being at Work. We are in Module 3 about work motivation. In this segment, Module 3.5, I will discuss job characteristics theory. Although this is only one theory in a whole long list of theories about work motivation, this one receives its own module because it's really one of the ones that I think of as being particularly important, as well as one for which there is a lot of empirical support. The agenda for Module 3.5 is pretty simple. We're going to just be discussing job characteristics theory. The learning objective for this particular module is that by the completion of this module, you should be able to understand and explain job characteristics theory as a theory of work motivation. Job characteristics theory was developed by Hackman and Oldham in the 1970s. The specific references are in your textbook and go back to 1975 as well as one from 1980. This particular theory is helpful in both understanding jobs and changing or redesigning them to make them more meaningful. And by making jobs more meaningful, the theory is that then they'll be more motivating to employees. This model posits that to understand work motivation, one must examine the key contextual factors of both the job as well as the person, the worker in that job. The proposed 5 core job dimensions or characteristics in job characteristics theory include skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy, and feedback from the job. According to this theory, these 5 characteristics lead to 3 critical psychological states, which include meaningfulness, responsibility, and knowledge of results, which in turn lead to work outcomes such as motivation, performance, or job satisfaction. Skill variety refers to the degree of variety in job tasks and differing abilities that the job requires. In theory, jobs that require greater skill variety are more meaningful to the employee. Task identity refers to how well an employee is able to associate his or her task with the job's ultimate outcome. Generally, employees who are able to participate in multiple parts of a process and not just a single assigned part have higher motivation. Task significance refers to how strongly employees perceive that their job impacts others' lives, whether it's in the company or outside in the community as a whole. Over the past decade or two, we've seen a huge trend in companies to focus on corporate social responsibility. And this is one way in which workers may perceive that the significance of their task and more broadly their work role might have meaning to the community as a whole. Autonomy refers to the extent to which employees have freedom to dictate their own approach to the job tasks and how much of the results of the job will be dependent on their own efforts rather than outside of their control. A job high on autonomy is one of a freelance writer, somebody who is more or less self-employed and pursues their own work. Finally, the 5th one is feedback, this one is pretty intuitive, but it refers to how well employees can receive direct information regarding how effective their job performance is. For example, someone who works in customer service might get a lot of feedback. These jobs are known for sometimes being negative feedback. Nonetheless, there are opportunities there for feedback, especially when calls or other interactions with customers are recorded. In other words, at least this information lets them know how they are performing. This figure shows the 5 job characteristics on the left, the core job characteristics that we just discussed of skill variety, task identity, task significance, autonomy, and feedback, and how they lead in turn to the critical psychological states of meaningfulness, responsibility, and knowledge of results. And in turn, it's those psychological states that result in different outcomes, including motivation, job performance, satisfaction, absenteeism, as well as turnover, which is leaving the job or the organization altogether. According to the job characteristics theory, the 5 job characteristics combine to create a single motivating potential score of a particular job. As you can see from the formula listed here, the 2 most important factors are autonomy and job feedback. As I indicated earlier in this module, not particularly this segment, but earlier on in Module 3, autonomy is in general a critical factor and one that we're going to be discussing at great length in this course. Hopefully you'll end the course really understanding that autonomy is important when we design and evaluate jobs. Nonetheless, it is job autonomy and feedback that place more quote-unquote mathematical weight than skill variety, task identity, and task significance, which are each divided by 3. So one question that comes up is whether all employees will really want an enriched job or not. For example, some employees may perceive that having more skill variety and task significance just equates to having more stress. So this is something that has been under debate. So we can think back to what we talked about with needs-based theories and the extent to which employees want self-actualization or are striving toward higher order needs. And a question is whether people have these needs, and in general, what we've come to the conclusion of is that individual needs vary. Nonetheless, it's been argued that individuals who are high in what's called growth need strength would be more strongly motivated by the motivating potential of a particular job compared to those who have a lower growth need strength. In general, research has been really supportive of this model overall. For example, Freed and Ferris in 1987 conducted a meta-analysis and found that job characteristics related to both attitudes such as satisfaction, as well as behaviors such as performance and withdrawal. They also found that psychological states mentioned in this model mediated the relationships. Research has also evolved and found additional factors studied that are related to job characteristics. They include things like job complexity, social characteristics, and social support, as well as the extent to which tasks are interdependent, in other words, dependent on one another. Taken together, job characteristics theory is particularly important because it has implications for how we should design jobs. Specifically, there are some core ideas about how to design jobs to include things like job rotation, job enlargement, and job enrichment. I'll discuss each of these in turn. Job rotation refers to a policy of employees performing one of several assigned job tasks with the responsibility for performing a certain set of tasks rotating on a schedule such as monthly. This can be set up as, it can, for example, be one type of on-the-job training, as well as one way to provide some variety so that workers are not stuck in the same job altogether. This may happen with physicians who, in their training, have opportunities to explore and try out working in different departments. So it can serve a training and opportunity for workers to understand the organization as a whole, in addition to helping to provide some variety and strengthen workers' expertise in different areas. Job enlargement refers to expanding an employee's duties and having responsibilities beyond those that he or she was previously performing. This method increases the amount of variety in the tasks that are performed, and it can maybe help reduce boredom, the monotony that comes about when we're just doing the same thing over and over again. But one of the criticisms of job enlargement is that it's just a fancy word for giving people more work to do. So job enlargement can be particularly useful for workers who do not have a lot of skill variety on their job and may be looking to take on or do more so that they won't be bored and have more variety in what they're doing. On the other hand, if workers are already involved in a lot of different tasks and already have a high workload, job enlargement may not be well received. And finally, job enrichment, which is increasing the motivating potential of a job by increasing the amount of authority and control that a person has. In other words, another word or way of thinking about job enrichment is that it's how we can increase autonomy on the job. That concludes my description of the job characteristics theory. The next and final portion of Module 3 is coming up next in the segment Module 3.6, in which I will discuss reinforcement and incentives. Thank you.